This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Well, a wonderful Friday afternoon to you all, folks. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I am Andrew Paterson along with Michael Remis, and we've got a great show to head into the weekend. So much going on. We're going to be talking Winnipeg Jets after that big win last night over the Montreal Canadiens. One more game for the Jets before Monday's trade deadline. We'll be all over that with the voice of the Winnipeg Jets, the one and only Paul Edmonds, coming up. We're also going to talk with a very good friend of the program, a member of the Jets organization that has been integrally involved in the Jets Legends series. And wow, what a piece they did last night on Crappie. If you're in the chat and you saw it last night, let us know what you thought of it. Kyle Balharry is going to join us around 2 o'clock. And we will also hook up with Lorrie Stade out in St. Adolphe. Today is the day, folks, that we need to get behind St. Adolphe for the Kraft Hockeyville contest. Got to vote online and get those votes going. And hopefully we can help St. Adolphe win a big upgrade for their arena, which desperately needs it. So we'll find out more about that a little bit later on. But let's welcome in the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Remis. Remo, what is up? How you doing as we head into the weekend?
Feeling good, Huss. Hard not to be feeling good. The weather is nice, although we have had some rain, and the Jets got a win. The trade deadline is coming up. We have the Masters. Baseball's underway. This is awesome. It's kind of funny because it's the trade deadline on Monday, but normally around this time, my phone came up with some memories. I'm usually doing like a playoff hockey draft, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess normally the playoffs would be starting pretty soon, but this is nothing like a normal season, the shortened season. With only the Canadian division. So yes, trade deadline coming up. We'll be tuned to see if there's any deals going down before Monday.
Yeah, we'll have a big show on Monday. I'm not exactly sure how it will all work, depending on what the Winnipeg Jets do. We might, if there's a big deal early on, maybe we start off a little earlier. We'll lean on some of the boys, the regs, and see when they're available. But we could have an expanded show, and certainly if there are some significant moves, we'll be talking all about it here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I imagine, Reem, the conversations amongst Jet fans, over the next few days, and I talked about this on the commentary on CGOB today, with everything, for all intents and purposes, decided as to who is going to be in the playoffs, these next 3 days, as much as we'll watch and look forward to a Hockey Night in Canada game with the Jets and Montreal Canadiens, is most of the conversations are about Monday at 2 p.m. and what NHL GMs, but in particular Kevin Cheveldayoff, might have up his sleeve before that bell goes.
Yeah, I think what we can tell for sure is they're going to get a defenseman. Is it going to be the number one offensive defenseman that they need? That you look at goals, the Jets don't have many from defensemen. Josh Morrissey got on the board yesterday, but they could use a little more offense from the defense, but also has a little more defense. Got to help out Connor Hellebuyck, or will they go with more of a depth guy as they've done in the past? Does the Blake Wheeler injury, does that force them to maybe go get a depth forward or maybe a middle six forward? I mean, you look at some of the prices. If the Islanders can get two, I think, pretty quality forwards in Palmieri and Zajac for only a first-round pick, some other guys, and retaining some salary, it seems like some of these prices, Huss, are going to be players with or teams with the UFAs might be just giving away some players to teams who are going for the playoffs.
It's quite obvious that patience is the name of the game right now with NHL GMs, with the exception of Lou Lamoriello. And there was that move yesterday with the Florida Panthers. But I think what the Panthers were doing at Blasito is trying to, maneuver themselves into a cap situation where they could take on more money. Of course, I would think that they would love to add a defenseman similarly to the Winnipeg Jets, considering, a really significant injury to, their main guy on that blue line in Aaron Ekblad. So, with the deadline coming up, and your point about the Wheeler injury is interesting. And, I think we've talked all year long about how, deep and frankly healthy the Winnipeg Jets have been. A big reason why Jansen Harkins has only played the amount of games that he's played is that, it was a bit of a numbers game and everyone was healthy. Coach Maurice, after yesterday's game, did confirm that Blake Wheeler has been categorized as a concussion, so he's in the protocol. And they'd already said that he wasn't going to be playing these 5 games on the road trip, partly because of just travel. If he was able to do it, getting back with the team, you have to fly private. There's a whole bunch of things that go into that. But I'm sort of there with you on that. I mean, if the Jets are willing to give up their first-round pick, and they're leaning on, let's say it's a David Savard or it's Alexiak or it's Josh Manson, there might be a different value for each of those players. Manson, of course, has another year of term on his contract. It wouldn't surprise me to see, as part of a package, maybe a second player coming over in that deal to give the Jets a little bit more depth and just, a contingency plan for if nothing else. I mean, I do think Winnipeg is very happy with the players that they have right now on the roster. And if Blake Wheeler is healthy, they're more than confident that they can go in and go toe-to-toe with most teams with their top 12. But again, you can't take anything for granted. And if your plan is to play for 2 months in the Stanley Cup playoffs and get to that 4th series and win 16 games, you're going to need a lot more than 12 players up front. I think it's safe to say, and history has told us that before.
Yeah, you can never have too many defensemen. I remember years of this team going down so far down the list. I feel like they've, kind of starved off the injury bug here. Blake Wheeler just got hurt, but before that, I mean, all their guys have been healthy, haven't missed any defense. And, you see teams, as you go on in the playoffs, they get banged up. You just got to go more and more down the depth chart, and you can never have too much depth. I'm not saying, we all know there's people in chat responding, they have a lot of forwards. I know that they do, but you can never have too many. And it's funny, you like the way the team's going, and it's like, if you get a new defenseman, who's coming out of the lineup? Or you get a forward, who's coming out? Things seem to be going so well for them. No one really deserves to be taken out of the lineup.
No, it's a great point, and that's something we'll talk about with Paul Edmonds in just a couple minutes here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. In the meantime, for those of you that are with us live right now on YouTube, and thanks for everyone that's there, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and give us a like. Also in the chat, would love to hear from you all as to what you're hoping to see added for the Winnipeg Jets. Is there a particular player that you're targeting? I mean, it's pretty clear the defense would be the number one priority, I think, in adding. But as Michael said, there might be the need for, another depth forward, considering the goal of playing for 2 months come playoff time. So hit us in the chat as to what you would like to see the Winnipeg Jets. How about this one from LB, Reem? Trade a 2021 first-round pick, 2022 first-round pick, Vesalainen and Niku Perreault to Columbus for Patrick Laine.
A lot of people want Laine back. Well, what if Columbus?
Hell, he might want to come back too, considering the way things are going in CBJ right now.
He's kind of hoping. I don't know. I can't really see that happening. Maybe like down the road, at the end of his career, one last hurrah with the team that drafted him. I think the ship has kind of sailed with the way. But a lot of Jets fans in our comments here in the chat and on Instagram. Well, what if? Columbus somehow becomes a UFA with the qualifying offer, and the Jets could sign him. I think the Jets, they don't really have the cap room, and
no, it's not happening now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I did have a bar top conversation with a friend a few days ago, just kind of spitballing and having some fun, envisioning a JVR type situation with Philly, where, drafted by them, plays there, gets traded, and then when he becomes an unrestricted free agent, he signs back with the original team. You never know. It might be a great the grass isn't always greener scenario. Well, the grass certainly isn't greener right now in Columbus for a certain Finnish sniper that we used to cheer for here in Winnipeg. Hey, as always, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily and Winnipeg Sports Talk Channel brought to you by Not Autocore, Boston Pizza Winnipeg, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Royal Sports, our golf sponsor, Breezy Bend. We'll get to some Masters updates as well, and our friends out at Aikens Lake. And Not, I mentioned, we said, why not get into the car of your dreams at a great price with the help of the Not team? If you're thinking about going electric, the future, the Tesla. They have been the Tesla headquarters in Winnipeg for years right now and have a number of vehicles in stock. As I said, if you're real next level, Trevor Knott will even take Bitcoin for the vehicles as well. Pop down, see him, Waverly and McGillivray, or online at knott.ca. And hey, the weekend's coming up. Another big game tomorrow. Great night to get out to Boston Pizza or order in. If you get the pizza flights and any Molson product, whether you're eating in, taking out, or delivery, you'll get a chance to call your shot with BP and Molson for a chance to win instant Boston Pizza gift cards, a custom-made ODR backyard rink for next season, or even maybe a VIP NHL package. So all that Boston Pizza this week, and get that great game day meal as well tomorrow night. Remo, back to last night's game for a minute. This was in a lot of ways one of those, I don't want to say a typical Jets game, but we've seen many of these like that this season where, you know, the team's kind of comfortably up on the scoreboard, and midway through the game, you look over at the shot clock and you're like, what? It's like 22-9 or whatever the case was. And, you know, what was interesting about the game last night was while, you know, the Jets, you know, had, you know, some, you know, obviously they scored in the first 30 seconds of the game with Josh Morris, who was huge, got another contribution from the fourth line with Trevor Lewis, and then Nikolai Ehlers' blazing speed breaks his 11-game scoring streak, slump, I should say, and gets on the board. The Jets still at times were spending a lot of time in their own end. And what was interesting, I thought for some real strong play on the bottom six, it didn't take long for Paul Maurice to make some changes and ended up swapping Andrew Kopp and Nikolai Ehlers midway through the game, despite the fact that the team was certainly in control on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I saw someone tweet out, I think you liked it, show me the most Jets picture ever, and showed it was the Jets being outshot like 24-9 and the score being 3-1 for the Jets. And I think, you know, someone both posted in chat, that's why I don't trust analytics. I'm fully in favor, on board with, you know, looking at shot attempts and stuff, but the Jets are a different team. They don't go by analytics. They have the best goalie. If he can see a shot, he is stopping it. Unless, you know, it's bouncing off weirdly off the backboards at Bell Center. We can get on that. But Hellbuck, I mean, he's unbelievable. And the Jets, they don't need too many chances to put one in the back of the net. We've seen this for years. Scheifele got a great shot. Ehlers, game-breaking speed. Kyle Connor is taking over Laine's spot on the power play on, you know, the mirror image side. So, you know, the Jets are being outshot. Yeah, you know, maybe it's obviously not great long-term, but they've shown that that's the way that they play. And I think Montreal fans were saying the same thing. This is so Montreal. We have all these scoring, you know, all this opportunity, and we can't put the puck in the net. So, you know, some teams just that's how it is for them. But as for the Jets, you like to see Paul Maurice say, you know what, this isn't working. We're going to mix up the lines. And Andrew Kopp, I think he's played on just about every line this year, and he's done it the last couple of years. And he's so valuable to have a guy who can play center, who can play wing, who can play penalty kill, he can play power play. Yeah, I mean, he's led the team in ice time for a couple games this year just because of the way the game has gone. So kudos to him. You like to see a little, you know, balancing of the lines. You know, Dubois, Ehlers, maybe the pair. Connor Scheifele is the pair. And, you know, bounce it around. So it ended up working out. They got a win. And that was definitely the game they had to win. Montreal played the night before in Toronto. Jake Allen playing on back-to-backs. You got your 2 points. Hope you can get a bonus to tomorrow night.
Jets underdogs again last night. I'm looking ahead. Underdogs again tomorrow.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're a slate underdog. We'll get to the cool bet lines a little bit later on today on the program. And, of course, we'll get into it with Paul Edmonds and discuss last night's game. I'll look ahead to tomorrow and get the voice of the Winnipeg Jets on Jets Radio CJOB and his thoughts on the upcoming trade deadline. And as I mentioned, you know, we've got Kyle Balharry coming up. Ball's a great friend of mine. Used to work together back in the day, and he's been doing such a great job of the production. But, man, what a different year for a guy like that, Remis, without fans in the building. And I will tell you, we're now seeing the fruits of what he and that team have been doing for a number of months, putting together, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the team back here in Winnipeg, despite no fans, with this incredible Jets Legends series. And I got to tell you, the crappie piece last night had me grabbing for the Kleenex. That was a serious tearjerker. And I think anyone that's been around this market for the last 10 years, watching the Winnipeg Jets, taking part at games, going to Bell MTS Place, remembers what a special guy he was and how much he meant to so many Winnipeg Jet fans. And as we heard last night, so many members of the actual team as well.
Yeah, they even had owner David Thompson talking about crappie in that. And these Jets legends, I've really enjoyed them. The first one was on the first game. The other one was on the first playoff series versus Anaheim. This one on crappie, Len Kropiowski. We'll remember him, being shown during the anthems, front row at the Jets games, and it showed him, on the ice with Stacey Natras during the anthem. So it was very well done, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Balls to see about putting these together, but also, how game production has changed with no fans. I mean, I always laugh when you hear Jay Richardson announcing the goals. There's nobody there, but you can hear them announcing the goals after the game. So I think they're trying to make it feel like a regular game as much as possible, even if you're watching at home.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, never mind, the in-arena experience without fans. Can't wait to ask our pal Paul Edmonds about what it's like calling games not being on the road in this crazy, crazy year. And we'll do that coming up in just a second. 1:45 today if you're watching live with us here on YouTube. We'll also check in with St. Adolphe and the Kraft Hockeyville promo. Lorrie Stade is going to join us, one of the organizers, and tell us how we can all step up and help St. Adolphe refurbish their arena, which desperately, desperately needs it. But, without further ado, let's fire this up, Remo. We'll welcome in the longtime play-by-play voice of the Winnipeg Jets, formerly with the Gold Eyes. Well, a guy that's pretty much called just about everything. And first and foremost, a very good friend of both of us here at Winnipeg Sports Talk, the one, the only, Paul Edmonds. Paulie, great to see you, my friend, and great to have you for the first time here on WST. What's going on? Hey, before we get to last night's game and the deadline, how are you? How is the family? This has been a very strange year, and I know we connect via text, but it's great to be able to see you and whatnot. Before we get to the actual work life, how's Casa Edmonds and the gang? Paulie, I think you're muted. Paul, I think you're muted. There may be a mute there because we're getting in the we're getting in the chat that we can't hear Paul. No, I don't know whether that's on Michael's end or on Paul's end.
It's good. I fixed it. Sorry.
Okay, we're all good. Okay, so Paulie, we're just getting into it. Welcome back. We're just kind of hearing me ask you questions with everything. But how's the fam in Casa Edmonds? He's multi-talented, folks.
Yeah. No, things are good. I mean, I think I could probably speak for a lot of families that have kids that are involved and are active in sports. And the last, 13, 14 months have been very trying because you have kids that are involved in hockey and baseball and volleyball. And, it just hasn't been the same. And we've had 2 lockdowns and shutdowns in the game of hockey. And for a lot of kids, and I mean the majority across the province, they haven't played a meaningful game in 12 months. So that's been tough. And I think that while, I can speak for my wife and I, we've been able to have some interaction because we go to work, right? The kids go to school and put a mask on. But other than that, there's just no other social activities for them. And their social and recreational activity is to be involved in sports and to see their friends that they have through sports and recreation. So that's been tough. It's been a little bit better in the last month or so that they've gotten back onto the ice and got involved. And I know there's some baseball tryouts starting up for my youngest guy coming up. But, overall, it's been real difficult. When it comes to sports like the National Hockey League and the Winnipeg Jets in our market, in our province, in our region, that's why it's important for the Jets to be playing. I just think that there's a distraction there. There's some escapism. There's an opportunity to plan your day and look forward to something because the schedule has been so compressed, Hustler, that you're going every second day. So there's not a lot of time in between games. So there's a lot of sort of, I think, eyes on the television or ears on the radio in tune with what's going on with the hockey team. And And as such, people are certainly opinionated on what's going on and what they should do at the deadline and things. It's been great. I mean, I can't complain. I mean, I've been working and it's been a nice transition from one place to the other. And it's great to continue in the same capacity 7 years.
No doubt about it. Before we get to the hockey team, what about the gig? I mean, you've been in this business for a long time. I can't imagine you ever imagining being in a situation like you're in right now. I mean, how challenging has it been when you're calling these games often from a screen?
Well, the good thing is that I'll take you to the home games first, that we're in the building. So we're actually seeing and calling the games as we have before and we have done traditionally before. The difference is, and this is where, and I sent out a tweet halfway through this, that I said that we are halfway through the season. I really miss the fans. And I truly meant that. I miss the lead up to when the doors open and there's that sort of crescendo of the ambiance that gets kind of spiked as people start to enter the building and you can feel the atmosphere start to rise. There isn't any of that. And there's no anticipation for puck drop, right? And the players have been, I mean, they've handled this with aplomb and been so professional in going out and really contesting these games with no fans there. But it's got to be difficult as well. So the pregame is where you really miss it. That's the start point. And then after that, it's after a goal at home. I mean, sure, the horn goes off, but there's no sustained cheering, right? There's no raucousness in the building, and you really miss that. And I've always loved when the goal goes in and all the people behind the one net jump, right? It just kind of, it's like a domino effect. And so we are missing that. And I can't wait for the people to get back in the building. And, it's funny because I talked to Gary Lawless just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and I think Vegas is allowed proportionately for whatever their building holds somewhere around 33 or 3,500 people in their building. So I asked him if that made any difference. He said, no, because it's still not full, right? It's not the same atmosphere that you're used to in that building or the same atmosphere with 15,000 plus in downtown Winnipeg at Bell MTS Place. So the fans are definitely missed. That's just not a bunch of lip service. It's the truth. While it's nice to get into the building and do the games and see the entire sight lines that you're dealing with, that has been the one sort of void that I don't think anything can replace, synthetic noise or what have you, than just having the people in the building. On the road, it's been a little bit more challenging for sure. I mean, you're dealing with trying to call the game off a television monitor. And so you are at the mercy of the camera guy from wherever you are. And you're also dealing with sometimes some audio issues that don't work very well in your favor, like the crowd mics or the ice effects mics. But overall, I mean, I've heard from people, if they didn't know that you weren't there, they wouldn't know. So you call the game and you try to deliver it in a professional manner and package. And hopefully by this time next year, I'm doing this show from some hotel room in maybe Florida or wherever. And we're talking about how we managed to get through all of this in
you're very well said. And just dating back to what you were saying about the challenges, from a family perspective with kids, I can tell you, from obviously a bit of a different situation, but the one thing that I'm getting from people with us every day, whether it's in the YouTube chat, people hitting us up on social media, when we're talking about these things, is just what a necessary and important escape it has been for people around here to be able to look forward to these games, to watch them, to talk about them. Because to be honest, Paul, everything else sucks outside of what's going on. You can't do anything. And even worse in some of these other provinces around us. And I think there's sort of some sense of maybe impending doom that will be going in that direction as well. So certainly are appreciative of the fact that the games are on. And I think it has been a big part of helping people get through these months. And I'll tell you what, the hockey team's certainly done their part. I know there was lots of questions about the team and the way that they were built coming into this season. You knew you had the goaltender. You knew you had some elite front-end talent. But despite sometimes it not always looking pretty, the results speak for themselves right now. And there is a real legitimate sense of excitement about what this team might be able to accomplish once we get to the end of these 56.
Yeah, they've done a real good job of acknowledging that the playoffs are the goal, but not really talking about trying to finish first or second or home ice advantage or anything of that nature. I think at this point, though, with 16 to go, Huss, and the majority of those at home, 9 of the 16 at home, that you probably are within your own room or within your own little circle within the team starting to think about, okay, this would be great if we didn't finish first. This would be great if we finished above Edmonton so that we could have that 7th and deciding game in our building if it came down to that. It would be great to finish first, and then you might get Montreal in the first round. But careful, as Paul Maurice has said, about determining which team you want to play, because they could sneak up on you and you could be very disappointed in the first round. So they'll just kind of casually go through this from the standpoint that whatever happens, happens. And wherever they finish this, then they'll be prepared to take on that opponent. But I think this is where I think the sprint starts now, from the standpoint that you start to jockey for those positions 1 through 4 now with 16 games remaining. From that standpoint, I think that the Winnipeg Jets are in real good stead here in making the playoffs and making some noise. They've beaten Edmonton, they've beaten Toronto, they've beaten Montreal. It's going to be, I think, interesting from the standpoint that you do have a lot of games remaining against Edmonton and Toronto on the schedule. And there'll be a psychological advantage if you can win the majority of those going into whoever your opponent is in the postseason. But I think right now you're just looking to refine your game, as Paul mentioned to us yesterday. He said it's not about jockeying for position. It's about making sure that we're doing the little things right. We're making sure that our details are right to ensure that we're playing the best hockey we can play. And the crescendo is happening as we get into May at the end of the regular season and then into the first round of the playoffs. So I think the Jets have done a very good job of that. I think they've improved defensively. Maybe some of the numbers don't add up that way, but overall, I think that what they're giving up is less. They certainly acknowledge the fact that they were giving up way too many slot shot chances to the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've certainly clamped down on that and eliminated a lot of those. So that's why those couple of games against Toronto become so interesting, or at least the last one on this road trip becomes so interesting to see if, in fact, the proof is in the pudding on what they've been working on. But the biggest surprise for me, the whole hockey team, is Logan Stanley, Huss. And it has to be. I mean, this guy's come in and he might never come out. You know, it's just one of those players and just one of those scenarios this year. And I think it's been great because it was 2016 that the old saying against him was he's 2 years away from being 2 years away. Well, the time is not.
Well, and it's funny, and I could talk about Stanley all afternoon. I mean, it was about 3 weeks ago. I guess Bolio got injured, and he played. And Stanley finally got back into the lineup. I think it was a Saturday game and against the Leafs. And we came on the air, and I said, listen, this is no shot at Nate Beaulieu, but he's getting Wally pipped. When he comes back, like Stanley, we've just seen he's going to play a little bit more. You can see his confidence growing, and I don't think Paul Maurice is going to want to take him out of the lineup. By the next week, it had advanced to there's no way this guy's being exposed in the expansion draft. I mean, he is a keeper going forward. And I got to tell you, it has been so much fun to see him grow because, as you mentioned, you know, the 2 years away from being 2 years away was an actual quote said to me on the draft floor from Mark Hillier, the guy that just drafted him. He said, this is not Patrick Laine. He's going to go to junior for 2 years. And then he's going to probably play in the American Hockey League for 2 years. And at that point, when he grows into his body, gets more comfortable, then we'll see what he is. And, you know, I think it was very unfair by a lot of people to write him off as a bust before he even played a single game. And we're seeing what that plan and what that patience has done for Logan Stanley, the work that he's done, and how it's paying off right now. And there's no doubt that it's the most pleasant surprise. And it's funny, Paul, as we talk about, you know, the Jets obviously looking to maybe bolster that blue line and add somebody at the deadline, the most difficult question I have when talking with friends is, okay, David Savard, whoever comes in, who's going out? Because, I mean, that's a very tough decision to make right now. And there's a lot of people that will say Logan Stanley should not be the first guy to get out of the lineup.
Yeah, I don't think he would be. I mean, the game changes, whether you like it or not, as you get into the last 16, maybe the last 10, the last 5. And then again, it changes again when you get into the postseason, especially if you get into a long sort of snippy type of series, right? And you need some of that size. You need some of that sandpaper and that nastiness. And Logan Stanley does provide that, but he does some other things so well. I mean, he skates very well. I really like the ability to get his shot through at the point and holding the line. He certainly, I think, is hard to contest in front of the net and below the goal line, in front of his own goal and around his net because of his physical stature. And then, of course, he has a little bit of that mean streak in him. We saw that with Corey Perry yesterday. He grabbed Corey Perry and
not mean enough to
really
mean enough to a lot of Jets fans. I mean, we were joking earlier. We had that picture. I mean, the fear of God in that Weasel Perry. And there's a lot of people that would have been more than happy, even with the 2-goal lead, to maybe take a couple extra penalties and just take care of it then and there. Corey Perry should be thanking his lucky stars. His face was not rearranged by a 6'7" monster last night. Yeah, here's the picture last night. Remis is showing it on the screen. That's the fear of God in a grown man.
Here's what's funny is Paul Maurice was asked about that today in media availability, and he just chalked it up to it being inexperience on Stanley's part for kind of what to do. It was instinct, but didn't really know exactly what to do, because there was almost an inference there that you should have just grabbed him and just started throwing haymakers, But from that standpoint, Logan Stanley gives you so much. He doesn't have to fight because he's had that one fight now and he did very well. And now that's sort of in the toolbox and people know about it, the size of him, the puck moving ability, the skating. I don't know who comes out if you acquire a player like David Savard or Brandon Montour or Josh Manson, some right shot Ds that are available out there and some names that are being bandied about on trade bait lists. But I know it's not Logan Stanley. And then who comes out, I'm not quite sure. That would be a real big decision for Paul Maurice and the coaching staff. But I think the Winnipeg Jets are, like I said, in a real good spot here to make some noise in this division. And this will be a challenging division. There's no question about it. You're probably going to play one of those 3 teams, as I mentioned, in Montreal, Toronto, or Edmonton. And if you get by that team, whoever it is, then whoever's coming out of that other division to fight for the final of the Scotia North is going to be equally difficult. So there's 2 rounds of playoffs that I think that the Winnipeg Jets will be, set up for nicely, but with that tough test for that other team or other teams as well.
You know what? Just speaking about the division, Paul, the thing that I still can't wrap my head around this, and I'm actually going to be on with the guys in Calgary on Sportsnet for 3 hours this afternoon doing a show, and we've been talking a lot about the Flames there. Like, the fact that we still have 16-odd games or whatever, and the playoffs are set, it's over, to me is the most stunning part of this entire division because of how close we saw many of these teams are. And the bottoming out of the Flames after hiring Daryl Sutter was something I didn't see coming. And the fact that we don't have any real suspense as to who these 4 playoff teams, to me, is stunning.
The suspense will come on who finishes where, right? Or whom finishes ahead of whom. But you're right, there's a problem in Calgary, and they tried to address it with Jacob Markstrom in goal and Christopher Tanev on the blue line, and they threw some money at it. It looked like it was going to be a good fix, but I wonder if there's maybe a little bit more of a core player problem there. They just don't seem to have that fight, I guess, internally in challenging games and playing the right way. I mean, Sean Monahan in the games that he's played against the Winnipeg Jets has looked, invisible. I mean, he hasn't looked like anything other than you don't really see him or notice him on the ice. I think Matthew Tkachuk can be a much better player than he is, but he sometimes, I think, centers in on trying to run around and be something that, we expected from other guys 10 years ago in the National Hockey League. And I mean, Milan Lucic is getting a little bit older. So is Mark Giordano. And there's some, I guess, prospects there that just haven't turned out or come as quickly as they would have liked. They ran TJ Brody out of town, and I think he's landed in a pretty good spot in Toronto playing a regular shift. So that's a big hole to fill as well. And Christopher Tanev has had some injury issues, and maybe Jacob Markstrom hasn't been as good as they expected. So, yeah, there will be maybe a remaking of the Calgary Flames, and I don't know. I mean, it won't be Daryl Sutter because he's got a multi-year contract. So you maybe look above him and wonder if there's going to be some changes administratively on the hockey operations side to try to get that thing turned around, because I think overall they've got a pretty good nucleus. But as I mentioned, there might be something that's just not right with that core of that hockey team right now, and they'll have to do a complete diagnostic.
Yeah, and I mean, I really
done.
thought that would be the case when Sutter came in. You know, he kind of figured things out over the course of this last half of the season and then make some, probably significant moves to that core. What no one expected was for the bottom to fall out of them so fast before the actual trade deadline. And that's why I think Treliving is a very interesting guy going into Monday, as to the fact that they are sellers. I mean, there's no way you can look at their standings, their spot in the division, and think there's a chance that they make it. And has this sped up the process, and might a guy like a Monahan or Gaudreau that potentially would have been an off-season move potentially come up on Monday. So it will certainly be interesting to see. As far as the Winnipeg Jets go on the deadline, Paul, we've spent a lot of time talking about some blue liners that might be available. I mean, put your GM hat on for a minute. I mean, is there a player out there that kind of stands above the others that might be a perfect fit for the Winnipeg Jets in your mind?
Well, I think that David Savard would certainly tick a lot of boxes, Huss, from the standpoint that, you've got a guy that's a veteran in the league that is very stable, is good friends with Pierre-Luc Dubois, from what I understand, also plays the right side, is big, is physical, and moves the puck. And, I always think back, and maybe some people can't correlate with this, but I'll try. And in, I believe it was 92-93, I was covering the Swift Current Broncos, who went all the way to the Memorial Cup, in Sault Ste. Marie. And I got to go, and it was probably one of the five highlights, of my entire career, hockey, baseball, and everything else included. But there was a player by the name of Dean McCammon that was playing in Prince Albert. And Dean kind of was a 19-year-old. He wasn't going to be back the following year as a 20-year-old. So there was sort of right across the Western Hockey League, this sweepstakes that was going to go on for Dean McCammon. And I remember the Swift Current Broncos acquired Dean, and it was basically mentioned that it wasn't that they needed to have Dean McCammon as much to fill a hole as they didn't want anybody else to have him. So they grabbed him and tribute to the Broncos, and the trade was by the name of Darren Perkins. And he was a defenseman. And Darren Perkins, and by the way, Shane Knighty was involved in that deal. So that can localize the story here as well, because Shane was a young 16-year-old, with the Swift Current Broncos, that was traded in that package back up to Prince Albert. And then he ended up finishing his career, or the most of it, with the PA Raiders, and had a real good run before he turned pro with Ottawa. But Darren Perkins came along with Dean McCammon, and he ended up being the biggest upgrade to what nobody thought that the Swift Current Broncos needed that year. And that was a guy on the blue line that stayed at home, moved the puck with a great first pass, physically was large, and also was tough. And I don't think that you can have too many of those guys, that being my point, on your back end when you get into the postseason. As long as the guy can play, and David Savard has proved himself to be able to play, then you can go out, I think, stretch your neck out a little bit, relinquish yourself and divest yourself of an asset or two to acquire that player. And then if it is a guy like David Savard and he's on an expiring contract and you get close or you win it or whatever, maybe there's a chance that he resigns here because of those relationships that he already has in the room, because of the winning environment that's been created here. And Winnipeg becomes that place that people aren't scurrying away from, that in fact is a destination for some UFA or expiring contract players. And thereby your franchise gets a little bit stronger with attracting players here, or better players here.
Here's the big question. Has Jarmo blocked Chevy's number? Will he actually even pick up the phone, Paul?
I don't think he should, because I think there's some pieces there when you're looking at, we were talking about the Calgary Flames on doing a diagnostic at the end of the year and then possibly maybe revamping or retooling or reloading. Might be okay to start with a couple of prospects if you can, pry them out of Winnipeg and the exchange or in consummating the deal for David Savard. So no, he shouldn't block the number. He should take the call when he sees Chevy's number come up. He should pick up as well. That's another interesting point. I mean, Patrick Laine's not had a very good run there, and I just kind of wonder about the center that's not there to help Patrick Laine get the puck. And then the other part of that is
had a Brian Little.
I just don't know if I just don't know if John Tortorella is the fit there anymore that they need in Columbus. But that's their problem, and we'll watch to see how they try to find solutions to it. But yeah, I would think that Jarmo Kekalainen would be receiving the calls from Kevin Cheveldayoff.
Paul Edmonds, play-by-play voice of the Jets on 680 CJOB, joining us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Paulie, we are talking mostly about the blue line, but for the first time in a while, the Jets have a significant injury up front. It is the captain, Blake Wheeler, who has been the Iron Man of this franchise for 10 years. Do you think that changes Cheveldayoff's thoughts going in? I mean, I really thought they were about as set as any team, 1-12, even with a couple extras at forward in the league. But knowing the attrition that it takes to play 2 months in the playoffs, we focus a lot on the blue line, but might there be reinforcements, even a depth player up front that would come in a deal on Monday?
Yeah, that would be the only thing I would see that would be anything to do with the forward core would be a depth piece. And it would have to be a veteran guy that's on an expiring contract that's probably in around that, minimum, kind of like a Trevor Lewis or a Nate Thompson type deal. But I honestly don't believe that there would be a focal point at all for the Jets to go out and acquire another forward. I think that at some point you've got to believe that Blake Wheeler is going to be okay to return. The other point is that you do already have some playoff miles on Jansen Harkins, who replaced him last night in the lineup because Jansen was so good in the qualifying series last August against Calgary, right? So from that standpoint, you don't have to train anybody new. I think Christian Vesalainen proved this year at the start that he was getting better as an NHL prospect. So he's on the depth chart. And then you have some guys certainly down on the farm as well. And maybe it might not be a bad idea if Cole Perfetti got into the lineup at some point and started over at the wing on the fourth line or whatever. These are just all scenarios that I'm throwing out at you. So to answer your question succinctly, I don't believe unless it was a depth piece, you could get that player on the cheap on an expiring deal that you're looking to add anybody up front. I think that if you're looking for one area to position yourself to get better in terms of strength, it might be on the blue line. That's where the Jets need help. That's where I think they would be concentrating, and that's where they would probably push their assets that they're going to part with, including draft picks and some later ones at that, to that sort of area of focus, not anything else.
Paulie, this has been so much fun having you on the program. I know what a professional you are and how much work you do that goes into it. I know how strange of a year that this has been. And there's been a lot of weird things that have happened, even in the past couple months, work-related as well. But I got to tell you, it is always fun to catch up with you. People in the chat, we're getting tons of props for you, the job you do. And it was just great to catch up, and hopefully we can do this again soon and keep on listening to you and Jamie do your thing on OB and hopefully have many more than just the 56 regular season games once we get to the postseason.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for inviting me, Huss. And maybe, just maybe, we can get up to Aikens and wet a line for a couple, 3 days at some point this summer after maybe a championship.
That's the plan. Thanks so much, Paul. Of course,
okay,
he
brother.
mentions Aikens Lake.
Anytime.
Paul and I have done Aikens together a couple of times. You go. Thanks so much, buddy. He just we've had such a great time. Paul is like a hardcore fisherman. I am a rookie angler, but we took such incredible good care of us. World-class fishing and great staff. So if you're thinking about a staycation, if you will, or doing something here in the province this season, definitely check them out. Go online at aikenslake.com or hit them up on Twitter at aikenslake. All right, couple minutes. We're going to check in with our friends in St. Adolphe because Kraft Hockeyville voting opens today, and we're hoping that Manitoba will get behind them and see what we can do to try to get $250K for an arena reno. But what we do at Fort Breezy Bend, our golf sponsor here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, check them out online at breezybend.ca. Waiting list for 2021 memberships is open right now. And we take a look at the Masters. And Justin Rose has had quite a day. Rosie started off at 7 under par, bogeyed the first hole, got it back, and then had 3 more bogeys on the front 9. But then he got him back on the back 9 and, went back to 7 under. He finishes even for the day. And he's got a 2-shot lead over Mark Leishman, who had a heck of a day. He is at 5 under. And, the mullet, Cam Smith, started off 2 over par. He is sizzling right now. He has 1, 2, 3, 4. He's 7 under par for the day. He's at 5 under as well. He's playing 14 right now. And then a group at 4 under includes Bernd Wiesberger, Tony Finau, my guy Tony, and my pick, Justin Thomas, who was started off at 1 over par. He's 5 under for the day as well. So a bit of an easier day on the golf course today after those guys just got murdered yesterday by those the greens, about as fast as I've ever seen. Siwoo Kim, Ryan Palmer, Jordan Spieth in there at 3 under par, Cameron Champ, Patrick Reed as well. As far as the Canadians go, Mac Hughes had a heck of a round, came back after getting up to 3 over par with 3 birdies on the back 9. He is in at even. And going down, looking for the other Canadian, Corey Connors. We'll see where Connors is at. It does not look... Well, maybe, hopefully he's, because I was just going down and there he is. He's 1 under par. Nicely done. 2 under for the day. So Corey Connors into the red right now, coming up at Augusta. And of course, TSN's got the coverage. We'll get back to the Masters leaderboard a little bit later on. Let's get Michael Remis back in here before we check in with the folks at Kraft Hockeyville. Remo, what was just so much fun to have Paul on the program. Could have talked to him for a couple hours. And, we focused more on what's happening right now. But I'll tell you what, if you ever get the opportunity to sit down for a cold one with Paul, he has more stories from life on the road as doing play-by-play than just about anyone. What a heck of a dude.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Paul. I guess it was late 2020 while you were away. And, of course, before that, multiple times throughout the years. He's always got good stories. Paul's very professional, always very prepared. Loved working with him, and you could definitely hear it through every broadcast that he does. So great catch on him, hearing his thoughts on the Jets. And also, it was interesting hearing his experience broadcasting a NHL game in an empty arena, because I don't know after this year if we'll ever see something like this again. But
hopefully not.
You got to... Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty unique situation that we're living through here as we're managing our way.
Yeah, you know what, and the thing with Edmonds is, he and I are similar. I mean, like, he has just had such amazing energy. You listen to Paul call a game, and it's impossible not to feel emotionally invested in it. I mean, his energy is contagious, and to me, for a home broadcaster, that is exactly what you want to have. And, being able to manufacture that energy without fans, or particularly in areas, in times where, there's, you're not even in the building, is an incredible skill. And I've checked out many of the games that he's been doing with Jamie Thomas. And I have to tell you, that is not easy. And the guys are doing an incredible job so far. While we wait to hook up with Lorrie from St. Adolphe and Kraft Hockeyville, just taking a look at some of these tweets. Joe from Winnipeg heard us talking about Aikens Lake. He said, "I'm too impatient for fishing. I just go to Gimley's Crisp Fish and Chips and get the catch of the day, or pickerel, LOL." Our old pal Sean Asor, for any of you 1290 orphans that remember, Asor's actually in the fishing game. He's got a fish processing plant out in the Gimli area. So we'll have to get Sean on at some point soon. Jeff Cabillas, they and Paul and Jamie are great. And good idea. At least in the closet, you can store them safely on bags. Yes, we've got walk-in closet conversation going on here as well. People talking about the but it does look like we're about to hook up with our friends out in St. Adolphe, because as we mentioned, Kraft Hockeyville voting is open today. And for the first time ever, we have a Manitoban finalist representative. And let's get right to it. Let's figure out how we can help St. Adolphe win this sucker. And we welcome in Lorrie Stade from St. Adolphe, part of the organizing committee. Lorrie, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. It is a pleasure to have you on the show. You know, you might be muted. I'm having a tough time hearing Lorrie right now, Reem. And I'm not getting it in.
That's Lorrie's got to unmute it.
Yeah, Lorrie, can you you're unmuted, or we need you to unmute, and then we'll be good to go. Can we hear you now? Not getting the flag looks great. We just can't hear you. We'll see if we can we can get that going, because it is difficult to do an interview without being able to hear. We'll get Lorrie to come back in and recommit. But again, the website is krafthockeyville.com. There are 4 finalists, and as we mentioned, for the first time ever, St. Adolphe, we've got a Manitoban representative. So we're going to get Lorrie back, and hopefully she'll be able to, we'll be able to hear her. Lorrie, are we hooked up? Can you hear us?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I feel like the Verizon wireless guy. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Exactly. We got it done. Thanks so much for joining us. And, first off, congratulations to you and everyone that was involved in sort of starting this initiative. It's very, very exciting. But for the folks that maybe haven't been out to St. Adolphe or didn't know what kind of prompted all of this, tell us why you started this to try to get St. Adolphe in the mix for the Kraft Hockeyville Grand Prize.
Well, we're like any small town arena. We got a huge community of volunteers, and we fundraise every year with socials and carnivals, and now COVID hit. And then our arena decided to call it kaputs in a lot of different areas. Like our ice plant went down, so we can't make ice. We found mold in an entire north wall of our arena. And so over the years, we've been maintaining and raising money to take care of the building and add an elevator and accessibility ramps. But this year seemed to be the big one, where a lot of things just went down at the same time, and it's bigger than we've ever had before. So we felt like this was a good opportunity to win $250,000 to help get our arena and our community club just back up and running.
Yeah, I mean, what would winning Kraft Hockeyville mean to a rink, but also the community of St. Adolphe, as well as a number of people outside of St. Adolphe that, when the arena is up and running, probably spend a lot of time on the ice there?
Definitely, like that, not just on the ice, but in that actual building itself. Like, it brings people from all over Manitoba onto the ice. Like, in town, we have like 170 kids that play hockey there. I play hockey there. I didn't grow up playing hockey, and this community is just so hockey obsessed, and they love being together that they encouraged me to come and try it. So there I am at Source for Sports on Pembina, like suiting up. This is a few years ago now, and I play with the other moms, and it's super fun. And then a ton of other people come to have a social there, have a birthday party, have coffee. A lot of youth work there. Like, it's a building that we need for hockey and beyond.
Well, no doubt. And, as we hopefully get out on the other side of COVID and our communities can come back and get together in these smaller towns, I mean, the rink, that community center, is in a lot of ways the heartbeat of the community. And
are you stealing my words?
My words. Hey, well, you know what? I mean, it's just those are facts. I mean, anyone that's been out to these towns know how important this is. And obviously, it's been stressful, I think, for people knowing what they have to overcome. How did you guys get to this point? What took to become one of the 4 finalists? I mean, as I mentioned, the first time we've ever had a Manitoba representative as the finalist for Kraft Hockeyville.
It's been a fun adventure. Like, on January 1st, Kraft Hockeyville opened the floodgates for any community to apply, and thousands apply. We did nothing for the entire month of January. And it wasn't until February 1st that we started to post videos and stories to say how much we needed a new ice plant and to fix a wall and expand dressing rooms. And the whole town, we had 2 weeks. Like, the rest of the country had a month and a half, and we didn't post anything until February 1st. So we had 2 weeks to make as much noise on the Kraft Hockeyville website as we could, and we did, and they chose us to be in the top 4.
So fill us in now today. And, we knew that this was coming and we've sort of made mention of it. But as of today, the voting is open and everyone is hoping that Manitoba will stand up and get behind St. Adolphe. Fill everyone in on what they can do, how often they can do it, and to try to get this done.
That's right. Today is the first day of voting. It opened at 8. It closes tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So if anyone wants to pull an all-nighter, you go right ahead. You just get that Homer Simpson bird to click your yes over and over again. No, I've been voting since 8 o'clock this morning, and I was just worried about this interview, thinking I'm just going to be a silent, like radio silence as I'm sorry, Andrew, I have to vote. Just
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, interview. And a lot of my friends took the day off actually to vote. I had to apply for a day off today so that I could vote. It's unlimited votes. And I think the way it works is you can vote 15 times and then that whole reCAPTCHA thing happens. And so we're just kind of clicking the audio reCAPTCHA and figuring out the one word you need to bypass that. It's all legitimate. And then we just continue voting. I think I've probably voted thousands of times already today.
Well, listen, I know. And it's been amazing. I mean, you guys have had a lot of support from people in the community. I saw the Jets make a tweet out today. That certainly will go far today. I mean, tell us a little bit about the people that have sort of got behind St. Adolphe and what's going on starting today with the voting.
Well, I was just saying to some friends and people in town, like, we're the perfect size community to be picked for this. I mean, we're the smallest community in the entire competition, but the size that we are, like, word spreads like wildfire and people want to, grab onto community building events like this. It's just brought our community so close together. And then we've got lots of arms extended into Winnipeg and surrounding small towns. We've felt the love. We've had pictures rolling in of like schools doing voting parties and signs being set up on the way into small towns. And Winnipeg has been behind us. And you just feel the love of this whole experience. And it's been really great.
Well, we've seen this sort of thing happen before. Manitoba and Manitobans are known for their generosity, getting behind a movement and something that's so important. And we certainly hope that this can happen. And everyone that's with us today in the chat or listening later on in the podcast, get out there, Kraft Hockeyville, and start voting. How long does it go? At what point does it finish? When do we know if you guys were successful? What's the plan other than just putting in a lot of votes today?
Well, I know our entire town will be watching the Montreal and Jets game tomorrow night. It's at 6, right?
Yeah.
So that's on Sportsnet West, and they actually will announce it just after the first period. So first intermission, they choose the winner. The votes decide the winner. And so that's why we're asking all of Manitobans and all of Canada really just to vote like crazy for St. Adolphe. So we have till tomorrow to vote. So I will probably be up very late tonight. And it's a marathon, guys. Like, get on board here. It's a marathon.
Yeah, but it is kind of a sprint. I mean, it's just a one-day thing. Like, I'll be honest, that was the one thing I'm glad I asked, because I was sort of thought that it would be like a week-long thing and be going on. But, I mean, it really sort of is a race. And, as many votes as fast as we can get them in will make all the difference for St. Adolphe.
I know we've been doing the race part for 2 weeks now, just telling everybody about it as best we can, right? Social media, decorating our lawns, telling everyone at work, sending emails to family and friends and text messages. And now it comes down to this 36-hour window. And hopefully on Hockey Night in Canada tomorrow night, they announce St. Adolphe as the winner. Would be amazing, because no Manitoba town has ever won Kraft Hockey.
Wow.
It's been 15 years.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, never even got to this point, never mind winning the whole thing. So, listen, first off, congratulations to you. Volunteers and people in the communities like you are absolutely integral. I know you've got a number of people that are with you, behind you, that are doing it. And I hope that everyone listening right now will obviously fire out a bunch of things on social media. Get out there. If you're in the chat right now, Remis, the CTO, has put the link right in there. So literally, I just did it myself. It takes you right to Kraft Hockeyville. You know where to vote. And Lorrie, fingers crossed, maybe we'll be talking next week about $250K going to fix that rink of yours.
It would be amazing. So good.
Well, thanks for joining us, and good luck with everything.
Andrew. Thanks for having me, Huss.
Our pleasure. That was great. There's Lorrie Stade, crafthockeyville.com. Let's go, folks. We want to get St. Adolphe to be the first Manitoban winner ever. And you know what, listen, I mean, everyone, whether you're in the city, whether you're in rural areas, you know how important these rinks are. And you also know the financial stress that so many are under right now due to the COVID, the economy, all of that. So man, if they were able to pull this off with all of our help, it certainly would be amazing for our province. It's krafthockeyville.ca, by the way, not .com. krafthockeyville.ca. Link is in the chat. If you're listening to the podcast later on, go to Winnipeg Sports Talk Twitter. We'll have links for you there as well. And let's see if we can make this happen and get $250,000 to fix that rink out in St. Adolphe. Thanks again to Lorrie for all her work and joining us today on WST. All right, quick look at the Masters leaderboard again for Breezy Bend. We've got Tony Finau. Team Tony is on fire, 7 under par today. He's 2 shots back right now, along with Mark Leishman, 2 back of the leader, Justin Rose. Of course, the weekend's here. Perfect time to maybe grab some ice cream or a flamethrower burger. Nick and Nikki DQs, great sponsors of ours. DQ in Niverville, Polo Park, Northgate, and St. Anne's. Pop in there. Tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. We would really appreciate it. And Royal Sports, I mentioned yesterday, right at the end of the program, I got a text from the Hasbeeks. You know I'm a huge NFL fan. Many of you are as well. Just awesome brand new draft caps are in. They've got all the teams there. So if you're want to be ready for the draft or a new look for your favorite team, they're all there. And the flip-flop slides, some of the coolest footwear you've ever seen is all there, not to mention bikes, soccer, baseball. Spring is here, although we might have a little snow early next week. That being said, you want to get ready for spring and summer and get outside, do it over with our friends at Royal Sports. All right, really looking forward to this next segment. A very, very good friend of mine is about to join us, and he is not only a pal and a buddy, but one of the brains behind the Jets Legend Series and all the fun things that happen at the game when we're actually allowed to go as fans to Bell MTS Place. So without further ado, the director of game production for True North Sports and Entertainment, and my longtime pal Kyle Balharry joins us now. Balls, how are you?
I don't even know what year it was. 2001, 2002, when we were making those Manitoba Moose hockey cards. the sports talk on Academy that we would be here 20 years later. So it's awesome to be here. And hey, how about St. Adolphe? They got a good chance here. I think we can pull together and make this happen for them.
Well, you know, I do too. I mean, I really do think that there are so many folks. We've just seen it over and over again, whether it's in adverse times, like everyone's stepping up to do sandbagging for a flood, whether it's to come by people that are, in need, or, I mean, this is a great opportunity. I mean, all you really have to do is spend a little time on your computer doing a few clicks and you can really make a difference. And, in Balls, I mean, we're both from the city, but certainly working in hockey, with what you're doing, my background. I mean, we've been all around this province connecting with minor hockey and minor sports communities. And I mean, those spots are it's not overstating it to say these communities are centered around their hockey rinks. And, for a growing, place like St. Adolphe, to have their rink and their ice plant down really, really impacts everyone there. And it would just be amazing if we could step up and get this thing done for them.
It's the heartbeat of the community, and it's the heartbeat of Canada, quite frankly. I mean, that's what makes us all Canadians. And for a place like St. Adolphe to have a ice plant go and the heart of that community be stagnant, it's a killer. So let's work hard and let's see what we can do for them.
You got it. krafthockeyville.ca. Let's get those votes in for St. Adolphe. All right, dude. Now, I want to talk to you about the Jets Legend Series, but I think it will be interesting for people that maybe aren't familiar with you or what you do to talk about your normal job and then just how bizarre and strange and weird everything that you've been doing as a guy that literally job is to get things going with fans, 15,000 of them, in empty buildings this year in this unprecedented year. How's it been going?
It's been going, I guess as good as you can expect with no fans, right? I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, you see it on TV and it's not the same, but I mean, you're at the arena and there's nobody there, and there's 50 people in the building. You got some media, you got some scouts, you got doctors, and you of course have the players, right? So it's unlike anything that we've ever done. But with saying that, let me say this to you. It's extremely unfortunate that the fans aren't there. And that's the worst part of all here by far, for the fans, for us, for the players, for everybody. but this has been kind of just the wheels keep on turning in a 20-year career. Hustler, you were there. Every year things are different. Every year things change, and there's something new that happens, whether it be a promotion or you're honoring someone or a 1,000th game or a Hall of Fame ceremony or a tragic event or something that happens, right? So in a way, we've got such an experienced team down there, with Steve Godkin and Aiden and our whole AV crew and all of our promotional and people that put on games, as far as what happens on the scoreboard and what happens with TV timeouts and running videos and running replays and all those wonderful things that happen at a hockey game. We're just elevating that as far as putting on hockey. The players are watching, the coaches are watching, the general managers are watching, and the media are watching. We're trying to have some fun, but mostly we're trying to just highlight an NHL hockey game. So to answer your question, it's going well because we are privileged to watch NHL hockey live once again. And for my 20th season, I get to sit, in that press box and get to see incredible athletes play the game. And it's always amazing when you have a chance to potentially have a team that competes for the Stanley Cup, and we do again. So it's always exciting.
Now, of course, not being in the buildings, we don't see what's happening during these TV timeouts. I mean, are you doing fan versus fan and just putting on empty seats right now, or is it just basically dialed all that stuff back that is essentially geared towards the fans?
We've tried to have a little fun, but you can only be cheeky so far with the players in the building. And I mean, ultimately, we started watching, and they're watching the scoreboard maybe than ever before. They're not distracted by just the atmosphere and everything happening all around too. Like, they're actually watching the scoreboard during a TV timeout, because what we're doing is we're giving them some stats. We're giving them more stats. At the games, normally we're doing fan versus fan, or we're doing fan cam, or we're providing a sponsor some highlights. And now we're basically playing to the players. So they like highlights. They like replays. They like out of town scores. They like seeing the stats from around the league. And we're just trying to make it a full encompassing hockey experience. So lots of people are watching hockey at home, of course, most people. It's kind of a giant TV in the bowl with a whole bunch more stats and a whole bunch of like second screens for people to look at while the players and media and everyone are there.
Kyle Balharry is with us from the Winnipeg Jets. He's the director of game production down at the rink for True North Sports and Entertainment. So, Balls, last night at the intermission, we saw the latest installment of Jets Legends, and it was the piece on Crappie. This is the third of it. First of all, I just have to congratulate you. These pieces have been so good. And that one last night, for any Jets fan that has been following the team and attending games over the course of the last 10 years, I mean, that was a heavy one. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I was grabbing for the Kleenex when watching some of those, and people talking about Crappie and bringing back to, and it was even harder actually to watch those moments, I think, right now, knowing what we as hockey fans and as a community are missing by coming together, gathering at that rink and getting behind our team. But for people that maybe haven't seen the series so far, tell us about the Jets Legends series. Who's involved in it, and how much work has gone into get these ready, celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the return of the Jets, of course, without anybody in the building.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew, and obviously thanks for the kind words about the series so far. I mean, it's a bit of a labor of love, right? I mean, one of the greatest strengths of our organization is that we've had people working there a long time, and everybody loves the game. And what has happened has meant so much to so many people. And, it was important to us when we're talking about celebrating the 10th season. We're like, oh man, there's no fans. We can't have a ceremony. We can't do a banner ceremony for a couple of legends. We can't welcome some alumni back. We can't do promos. We can't have a bobblehead night. Like, what are we going to do here? There's a lot of smart people at True North and happy to engage with my team, our team, all the teams on how we could engage. So you're seeing a lot of second screen stuff. You're seeing extra content all over our website and social media, which has been absolutely fantastic. And then we wanted to do something extra special for the 10th anniversary that probably could only be done in this time, and that's actually have time to interview people that lived the return of the Jets. And that's not just players, and that's not just the people in the dressing room, but that's David Thompson. That's someone in the military. That's just people, staff that lived it all. And I think when thinking about what to do with this, it was important that we made something timeless, something that was classy, and something that if someone wanted to watch it tomorrow, or they wanted to watch it in 5, 10, 20 years from now, it's still the history of the Winnipeg Jets, and it's told by the people that lived it, right? So our interview with David Thompson was incredible. I can't believe that hour we spent having that interview with him, and we did it remotely. There's been all kinds of challenges, of course, right? So during this whole process, during COVID, we've interviewed 40 people that were involved with the return and the whiteouts and you name it. 26 episodes basically we came up with. So, through Bell MTS, we were extremely happy to partner with them on this and provide a series that is not only going to run 10 times on TSN, but we're going to extend the series to 10 more episodes after the season is over as well. Because there's just that many stories. And I mean, the return of Teemu Selanne is not in the TSN episodes, but it sure is going to be in the next 10. So the great part is we interviewed all kinds of people: Gary Bettman, David Thompson, Mark Chipman, Chevy, so many players. It was incredible listening to the stories and how much, quite frankly, the last 10 years has meant to everybody. And that's, for me, being a hockey lover my whole life and growing up in this city and being a Jets fan of 1.0, 2.0 and the Manitoba Moose and everything in between. There was so much love there and so much community, and the Crappie episode was unlike maybe no other, because what you saw in that room was a reflection of what happened in all those interviews. Mark Stewart had a hard time because Crappie meant so much, and he was reflecting on his career, and Blake Wheeler was emotional, and Paul Maurice and Chevy and Zinger and Mark and Chevy. Crappie did that to us, right? He just united us, and it was something special. And I mean, I had a chat with the crew before it was released, saying I think this one might get the most emotion out of anyone we do. And happy to say there's been a lot of people texting me saying I couldn't stop crying. So, and I got to give full
Dude, it was heavy.
One.
Yeah, no, listen, the job you guys did and the music in the background, just everything, the way that it was packaged up, I think it was an incredible tribute to Crappie, but it was also in a lot of ways I found, and maybe I took it as a tribute to the Jets fans and the community that, really started the second that team came back with the game in October against the Montreal Canadiens and went off from there. And in some ways, those anthems, the True North, all of those things that sort of became synonymous with the Winnipeg Jets ended with Crappie doing the salute. And, I just saw I'm just going to get this quote here because I want to get it. I think this is our pal, the Earl from Eli, Dan Milburn. Last night was awesome. I teared up. Brave men like Crappie is the reason I joined the Army. And I know Dan's proud member of the military. So it was just, it was neat, but it really was it's a cliche, but that had all the feels last night. And it was just very, very well done. I mean, it took me a good 10 minutes to get into the second period. I was so kind of still emotionally wound up from watching the piece on Crappie. What can you tell us about what's to come, Balls? I know you don't want to, share any secrets, but is there a schedule that's out? Do we know what the next one is? What can you tease us for fans to look forward to in future episodes, and maybe fill people in on where they're going to see it? Because obviously we see some of them on the TSN broadcast in between periods, but I think you just mentioned there's a lot of content there coming out, and not all of it will be on TV.
For sure. So we've got 10 episodes confirmed for TSN in the intermissions, and you'll see those for the remainder of the season as they roll out. Not every game. It's a pretty aggressive schedule with completing the 10 episodes. As you can imagine, there's a lot of editing, and our team was led by Steve and doing the initial edit, and the guys putting all the graphics in, and you change so many things and searching for the clips, right? I think one of the best parts about the whole series is that we've been collecting history all along. Like, maybe we haven't even used some of this footage, and now we're actually able to use some of the behind-the-scenes footage that we collected way back when. You know what I mean? Some of the Crappie footage that you saw. I mean, man, we had an interview with Crappie two years before he passed, green screen, and we talked to him for an hour, right? And it's so special that we're able to have the history move forward. So to answer your question, Andrew, I mean, literally, I don't know. I'll let everyone dream. I mean, think of the 25 best Jets memories you can think of since the team came back, and I would bet people will guess 20 of the 25. You know what I mean? So
I bet I know what the 10th one will be.
Well, I mean, hey, the 10th one is going to be the closest to May 31st, Andrew. So that could also be a choice.
Hey, just one note on the Crappie bit last night, because being at just about every game over the past of the 10 years, so many of them just, merge into one. You forget what season particular games are, but you remember some of the moments. And I have to say, looking back from a fan's perspective, I mean, we can talk about the comeback against Nashville. I mean, actual games, for the Winnipeg Jets, big wins. But as far as nights to be in the building, the night Crappie returned, to me, is one of the most memorable games that we've ever had at Bell MTS Place. And the irony of it is that it was one of the worst hockey games I think that has been played in the 10 years. A dull, boring home loss to the Ottawa Senators. However, two things happened that night. Crappie had been away for a long time. We had not seen him. And when he came back and you guys put him on for the anthem, and then the fan versus fan moment where both of the contestants were Crappie. I'm just getting choked up just talking about it right now. Remembering it was just one of the great moments for what you and your team have done at any point. And then, of course, the other thing that happened in that game was the hardest hit in the history of hockey, where Dustin Byfuglien just about ended Mark Stone. But it is funny how, you never know what you're going to get on the ice, but there are moments outside of the game. And that, to me, was maybe the best example of something that was, in a lot of ways, far, far bigger than anything that happens once the puck drops.
Hustler, well said, and you know that better than anyone. You grew up at the Winnipeg Arena, and you grew up in your young adult years at the Manitoba Moose games night after night and it's hard because I didn't go to a ton of games when I was a kid. I watched all on TV. I became a big Jets fan going to a couple games a year and only being able to do that. But
did we lose balls? I think we did. A little bit of a little connection. Well, he's doing it in a birdhouse outside of his place, unfortunately. So we'll see whether we can get balls back in. We can do that. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of wrap that bit on the Crappie segment. If you haven't seen it, WinnipegJets.com. And the work that they've done on this Jets Legends series has really, really been cool. And I just got to give he and Steve Godkin and everyone there that was involved in putting that back. And I, like many fans, cannot wait to see the next one. We got some great ones. Joe from Winnipeg, I remember Steve Godkin from playing NBA Winter League. He was a great, great dude. And we've also Jeff from Winnipeg, at Hustler. That was the memory for me. The game sucked, but Buff's hit was amazeballs. And Gary Medeiros, the first three Jet statues should be Ducky, Telemundo. I'm not sure that Timu maybe. It was the Timu got changed, and of course Crappie. Balls, we got you back there. We lost you there for a minute.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, man. Yeah.
Maybe it's because you're doing the interview in a birdhouse.
No, I'm in my backyard here. It's nice. I was just saying, basically, I'll wrap that up quick. Is that, I mean, it's you can watch the games on TV, but being lucky to be at the arena is something else. And those cultural moments that happen in life, quite frankly, to us. I mean, bursting out in tears because of we love Crappie, and people are literally 15,000 people. I think 14,998 of them were crying in that moment when he was back. I mean, I choke up every time. You choked up earlier. It's almost hard to explain, right? How do you put that in words? What that really meant to everyone? And Mark Stewart said something, and it was really cool. And we weren't able to fit it into the video, but I remember he said something along the lines of what he meant to the players. Was that they grew up in every arena they grew up in, and there was always their parents there, or their grandpa there, or somebody to watch them, someone in their corner, someone was always they could look up to, and maybe they were having a bad game, or maybe they just looked for encouragement. None of them had that in Winnipeg. And if they were there, they were somewhere up in the arena. Crappie was their guy. Crappie was their grandpa. Crappie was their guy.
Oh man, that's
pretty incredible.
That's such a great story. All right. So we'll look forward to it. And I mean, this content will be on Jets.com, I imagine, as things go forward.
Absolutely. So sorry, 10 episodes on TSN, and then we'll be releasing, and we'll be working with Bell MTS again to release the other 10
Not
episodes.
familiar with them.
And then they will, and then we will post it all on our own website as well, Andrew. Yes. It'll be posted all on WinnipegJets.com at some point throughout the summer. It'll be great.
Okay, Kyle Balharry with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Okay, I promised I'd ask this. By the way, the stash is amazing. This is one of the things that you've really worked hard on throughout the pandemic. But I need you to explain how the soul patch came to be. The combo of the stash with the soul patch, which actually looks excellent today as well. But it's
Thanks,
a unique
Andrew.
look.
Thanks, bud. I really have no words for that, except for I'll tell you, my wife is from Switzerland. She is European, and she thinks I look better with a mustache. So, I love my wife, and more than happy to continue to have my wife think I look more attractive with a mustache rather than without. But the soul patch, Andrew, this is just a natural growth. I'm not openly going and having this, but I'm not saying angle it up or do this or that. I mean, this is just EK growth, right? So this is Kyle Balharry from EK.
Keeping it real, as they say. Keeping it real, as they say. Hey, Ballsy, listen, congratulations to you, Steve, your entire team for this Jets Legends series. The fans have absolutely been loving it. Can't wait to see the next one. And it's great to have you on with us for the first time. We'll have to do this again sometime. You're an absolute beauty. We love you.
You guys are doing an awesome job. Keep it up. Can't wait to see you again. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. There he is, Kyle Balharry from True North Sports Entertainment, Winnipeg Jets, the director of game production, and one of the people involved with putting together the Jets Legends series. All right, we've got a couple of things to do before we finish the program. We will get to the cool bet lines. Let's get back to a quick little Masters update. And Justin Rose in the clubhouse, 7 under par. Mark Leishman's in at 5 under par. And there's Tony Finau and Justin Thomas also at 5 under. Cam Smith, unfortunately, just had a double bogey. Oh, geez. He just dropped 3 shots in 2 holes. He's back down to 2. And a number of the top players playing this afternoon. So we'll keep an eye on that. Of course, golf reports all for Breezy Bend. Let's bring Michael Remis back in. Remo, lots of fun talking with Balls about the series. Did you did you enjoy the bell crack there?
Are we calling it the Winnipeg Arena 2.0 on this show now?
Yes, exactly.
Is that what we're calling it? I was having a good laugh about that. I was pretty rattled actually to start the show. I had Paul Edmonds muted for his first 2 answers. Lorrie, that wasn't me. That was her. She had to select her mic, and then I got to get better. I'm lagging behind. I'm ruining things over here, so not good. But you're talking about odds. I'm surprised the odds of the day aren't the odds for WrestleMania, because I'm on Cool Bet right now. You can bet on WrestleMania. Shane McMahon paying 3-1 against Braun Strowman. May take Shane McMahon here.
You know what? I'm gonna tip off a little something from the wide world of wagering coming up on tonight's Lock Shot, but I do have a 3-match WrestleMania parlay for you. Here it is. Braun Strowman, minus 294 versus Shane O'Mac. Bianca Belair, minus 263 over the Boss, Sasha Banks. And AJ Styles and Omos, minus 250 over the New Day. It's a plus 159 parlay. I'm in on it. We'll be talking about it on tonight's Lock Shop. As far as the rest of the cool bet lines for today, let's take a look at the National Hockey League. Caps at Buffalo. Buffalo's been playing well. No longer are we getting 3-1 on Buffalo at home. Plus 220 tonight against the Caps. Caps minus 170. Rangers, Islanders. Islanders minus 147 favorites at home. Very interesting game. Minnesota against St. Louis. We know how bad St. Louis had been lately. They got embarrassed earlier this week by the Vegas Golden Knights at home. But they came back. They beat Vegas in their last matchup. And Jordan Binnington afterwards was asked about how big of a game this was for them to finally get back in the win column, and he just says, "We're coming." So maybe some bold bravado from Jordan Binnington, but I might lean to the Blues in the dog pound tonight. Hard to believe St. Louis right now on the wrong side of the playoff line.
They've been really inconsistent. They haven't been very good. So, I've watched a couple Blues games. I think they got off to a hot start. I remember Jordan Kyrou was on fire, but I guess they've cooled down, and I think goaltending's been a question mark. Didn't stop them from giving Binnington that extension, but we'll wait and see. I think Minnesota, they're a team to watch out for, and especially this year and in the future. They've got a lot of young players. Kaprizov going for the Calder, Eriksson X making an impact, Kevin Fiala as well. And I think they have got a solid group of defensemen. Goaltending's been solid, so I really do like Minnesota.
It's really interesting. When you look at the NHL standings right now, the North is set. I mean, the order isn't set, but we know the 4 teams that are going to be in. And I would argue that the East is set as well. Islanders are in, the Caps are in, Pittsburgh is in, and Boston is going to be in. And Philly, the Rangers, the Devils, and the Sabres are pretty much done. So you have to look. I mean, there's essentially 2 playoff races right now. Carolina, Tampa, Florida, they're all going to be in the Central. So you've got Nashville, who's got a 4-point lead over Chicago. Dallas is 7 back, but is 3 games in hand. Essentially, those teams are going to be battling for that 1 spot. And then in the West, Colorado's in, Vegas is in, Minnesota's in, and we're really talking about the race for that 4th spot. Arizona's got 3 points on St. Louis. Blues have 1 game in hand. And the Sharks sort of trucking along. They're 500 right now, but again, the team that's in the playoff spot in that there is only 3 games above 500. So that by record will probably be the weakest team to make the playoff, but it is somewhat wide open. But it is pretty wild, man. We've got 3-4 weeks of the season left, and we pretty much know, without a doubt, 14 of the 16 playoff teams right now in the NHL.
Yeah, that's really weird. I'm not really sure what to make of that. I know we harp on the point system as well, that you can't, make up ground. I wonder if that's part of it, Huss. But you think they would be more closer together then if you're having all these games where no one is really gaining points. So maybe it's just some teams are really good, some teams aren't, and it's just simple as that. And I think there are some teams that are clearly rebuilding. I mean, you can see that in the Central. Ottawa was definitely, everyone had them in for last. Calgary didn't really see coming. Vancouver, you thought they would. Thought they would not be as good as last year, but thought they would compete. But they've been not as competitive. So I can't really speak to some of the other divisions. Although I mean, Ducks and Kings, they were definitely rebuilding as well. So maybe it's kind of like an MLB where some teams just aren't really trying to win. I mean, the Sabres and Devils, they're at the bottom. You knew they weren't going to be contenders. So I guess it's just a cyclical thing. I mean, Detroit, you knew they were rebuilding. So I mean, coming into the year, that's a lot of teams that I just rattled off that really had no shot at the playoffs to begin with. So maybe that is just part of the way things are right now.
Although the funny thing is that at the beginning of the season, the Jets had worse Stanley Cup odds than most of those teams that you just mentioned, minus the Detroit Red Wings. So, hey, whatever. It is what it is. And guess what? Jets, we were mentioning the cool bet lines. Underdogs again tomorrow, plus 115 right now. If you want to get on that, we'll see whether that changes. You think Hellebuck goes again tomorrow, or you think they'll go to Laurent Brossoit? There is going to be back-to-backs mid next week.
They've kind of only gone to Brossoit and back-to-back, so I'd probably lean Hellebuck again. I think Hellebuck wants revenge on those boards.
On the boards, yeah. Well, I mean, it was funny when that second goal went in and you saw how it happened. It's like, he was so on last night. Literally it seemed like that was the only way he was going to be beaten after that first goal. And man, there's been a number of games like that this year where Hellebuck's let a goal in early and then just simply has put up a brick wall in front of the net. And we saw that for the most part last night in Montreal.
He's had a couple questionable goals this season, even though he's played amazing, and he's definitely the reason why the Jets, not the reason why, but definitely a major part of the reason why they're having so much success. But he's had some squeakers, some odd goals. Amazing that they showed basically the same highlight of Montreal twice. I have no idea what to make of that. And I know you're probably thinking, a lot of fans are like, no, Hellebuck, don't go behind the net and play the puck. Stay in your net. That's where you're the best. You're not an elite puck handling goalie, but you can't fault him at all. I mean, that's those are just weird bounces. He's doing what he can. I did enjoy, though, Murat posted this from his post game. He made a crazy 2-pad stack save late in the game, and you don't see the 2-pad stack often. And his answer was, we talk about what great answers he gives, how he's so, confident in himself. His answer was, if I'm making a 2-pad stack, something's gone horribly wrong. And that's not the way he should be answering. He should be saying, you know what? I'm an amazing goalie. 2-pad stacks are the coolest kind of save you can make other than maybe flashing the glove. I want it to look awesome. And I threw out the 2 pads just to show them that I am the Vezina Trophy champion. And I don't know, Hellebuck showing a bit of humility, I guess, last game.
Yeah, I will go with that. I'll tell you what, I know the Earl of Eli is a big hockey card guy. We've got some other crack packers with us here. The minute we were talking about this off air, I thought there better be a shot of that to make one of those nice horizontal upper deck canvas or maybe a special back-to-back Vezina if he can do that, this year. Some sort of special card for Hellebuyck, because you're right. You very rarely get that money shot. And we had it last night with another brilliant save from a guy that saves pretty much everything.
I'll never forget. I remember talking to Trevor Kidd about, on Pembina about 2-pad stacks. And he's like, oh yeah, 2-pad stacks are the best. They're so awesome. And he was, I told him, I think I asked him about like stacking the pads. He's like, oh, there's no better feeling than stacking the pads. I mean, I'd always talk about players like, I remember Brian Ralston would go like in on a breakaway or a penalty shot and like rip a giant slapper. I remember Evgeny Malkin in the playoffs against Pittsburgh, like ripping a giant slapper from like way too close. And that's got to be an unreal feeling, just scoring on a big slapper. Goalies can't do that. All they can do is like stack the pads and just like look awesome, robbing someone from a goal. You never see it coming, the 2-pad stack.
Joe, 2-pad stacks are so 80s. But really, if you were that out of position that you have to throw out the 2-pad stack, you're damn lucky. I guess that's basically what Hellebuyck was saying last night. But I don't even care what Hellebuck's talking about. You could be, referring to, you could be talking about the stock market. I would listen to it. He's the most entertaining and engaging player in the Jets. And I would put his interviews up with the most interesting in the entire NHL.
Oh, yeah, that guy's a confident guy, and I think you need that to be a goalie. If you're a goalie, I think it's been long established you're a bit of a different kind of guy. You get, rubber being shot at you 100 miles an hour, and you just kind of sit there and let it hit you. So I could never do that, so I do appreciate the art of a goalie.
Hey, this is for the Earl of Eli, Dan, who just said we need a Stanley rookie card with him having a Perry by the throat. I love that. But, Dan, I'm going to ask you this and hit us up in the chat with the answer. Where is the Stanley Young Guns card? Like, the first series came out, but he hadn't played, but he was in a number of games at the beginning of the season, and that all but guarantees a guy getting a Young Guns card in Series 2. And yet, Remis, I went down the list. No Logan Stanley in Series 2. I think we're still waiting for the Stanley Young Gun card. That's
crazy. He was a first-round pick, too. You thought they would have made one. I don't know what to say. I think that'll be a hot ticket here. That would be sweet if it was him, holding Corey Perry. And can we talk about that play? I mean, Dylan DeMello's got his back, and
typical garbage cheap shot cross-check.
It's like sad that these talented players like Corey Perry, who's played for Team Canada, who's been on Stanley Cup winning teams, you have to go and hit a guy like Dylan DeMello, totally defenseless from behind. I don't understand. These guys are obviously ultra competitive, but good for Logan Stanley for stepping in there. And I think you just get sad when you see guys like Brad Marchand doing this dumb stuff on the ice. The Tkachuk brothers, as talented as they are, there's no need for that. What are you accomplishing? So maybe I'm just out of touch. And again, I'm a guy. I'm here in my basement house talking on YouTube about hockey. Maybe I don't know anything, but that's my opinion on the thing.
There was a lot of people that wished that Logan Stanley didn't kind of just decided that he was going to go for it and get his 5 minutes worth at the expense of Corey Perry right now, because that look of terror. And again, he's got his gloves on. He's just he's got the, what's going on? Why me? Like, what did I do? It would have been nice. And again, I'm not a big fighting guy, but sign me up for Logan Stanley beating the hell out of Corey Perry anytime, anywhere.
He does kind of have that look there. He's like, what are you doing? What did I do to deserve this? I like that impression of Corey Perry. And I think people loved it. I mean, that and the walk of shame after getting ejected from the outdoor game, so quick.
Oh, I love that. Walk.
And there was all the videos of them playing different, sad music. Well, you have to have the longest walk to the dressing room. Was that the Cotton Bowl? So I think you like that, but he's a guy you want on your team. I'm not gonna dispute that, but good for Logan Stanley. And what are you supposed to do? The guy doesn't drop the gloves. You're gonna start punching him in the face? Isn't that? I think that's a crime.
We've got some info on this Logan Stanley card. So Winnipeg Chester, I think Stanley missed the upper deck cutoff. His first game wasn't until later in the season. And then Earl says maybe in the next series, it sounds like there'll be a Series 3 or an update series this year. Pullman never got a Young Gun card either.
He's been in the league for a while.
Yeah,
Pullman.
Overlooked. The odds makers disrespecting the Jets, now Upper Deck disrespecting the Jets. It never ends. I like it more with betting odds because it benefits us. I hate it when it comes to hockey cards. Those guys should have cards and we should be collecting them.
Like Heinola has one, Vesalainen has one, Kopp, Appleton. Is there a Niku? There is
a Niku. There is a Niku young gun. Yep, there definitely is.
Like Stanley was a first-round pick, and we've been talking about Pullman for a long time, and he's played in games.
And listen, if you see some of the other slugs that get young gun cards, like it makes this even worse that these guys haven't got them. But anyways,
do they know who's buying hockey cards? People in Canada, people in Winnipeg. Come on, Upper Deck.
You're right. What's going on for the weekend, Reem?
I'm gonna try to go. I think we're trying to go to the zoo again. We got. The
I was about to say back to the zoo.
We went if it's nice out. So we went last week with my son. He's like 20 months. He's got a mind of his own, and he wasn't in the mood to be there. He was really cranky. We had to carry them out of there with everyone staring at us. Who's that cranky kid? Like we're carrying him out, and I overhear someone say to me, "Oh, I don't miss those days." I'm just like, "Great, thank you."
Oh God, I would love to see this. I'd like to bring a camera crew just following you around parenting for a day. That would.
I do a good job. So
I'm sure
it's
you do.
not easy. He's got all the words. He does watch this show, Huss, and he says "Daddy" and "Hustler," and when I'm not on the screen, he gets upset.
I love it. Oh, Dan Milburn, Harkins and the Birdman were in Series 1.
Yeah, they were.
I had the French variation of the Jansen Harkins one. They had
That's
those
sweet.
rare French ones, so I was pretty excited about that. But I know the guys at Superstars are doing another break tonight of some high-end black diamond cards. I didn't get into it. I'm sure the Earl's got a piece of that.
You're rattled, Huss. You're rattled. You got Detroit in the last break. You haven't recovered from that.
No,
and that's
no,
why I'm kind of skeptical about breaks. Like, if you get a Detroit in a box break, like, you just put your money on fire.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the element of the breaks. There is an element of luck. I mean, it's sort of, I guess it's kind of like gambling.
It's gambling.
It's
gambling.
You have a share. It could be a good one. It could be a bad one. But the guy for the same price that ended up with Minnesota got 2 Kaprizov rookies. So, hey, it's just part of the luck of the draw, as they say. But yeah, fair. I did not have a lot of luck when I got. I have no idea that Detroit young gun guy, some European dude that has 1 goal in 27 games that probably will go back to Europe and we'll never hear from him again.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been in a break, so I think I need to get into see what that feeling is like when you get your team pulled and see what it is. I'll get in there eventually. I like opening a pack and seeing what it is. I've never pulled anything that great, but it's still fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, folks, geez, we only got 98 likes. Do us a favor. If you're in the chat right now, hit that thumbs up for us. It certainly helps us out. We appreciate it. And, now going into the weekend, spread the word. If you're talking sports with friends, let them know, hey, have you heard about Winnipeg Sports Talk? Any way you can get them to just pull up YouTube on their phone, give us a sub, and hopefully we can keep on growing the crew here on WST. I can't wait. Masters weekend is one of my favorite weeks of the year, Reem. And we finish off the Masters and go right into, I forgot, WrestleMania is actually 2 nights. It's going to be starting Saturday and then finishing up on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cool bet odds. Universal Championship outright winner. I mean, it's a 3-way dance. Roman Reigns 4-1. Edge 1.9. Daniel Bryan 2.85. That sounds like a solid main event. Are there fans going to WrestleMania this weekend?
There are. There are. There's going to be like 25,000, I believe.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's at Raymond James Stadium, so I mean, normally that's where the Super Bowl would be. I'm sure it could get 80,000 in, so they won't have the entire thing. But yeah, I mean, you know what? I think it'll be neat to see them back with fans. Hopefully, it all works out. But as I said, so many of those people are vaccinated right now. Very different situation with what we're talking about right now, but. To be honest, that's something that I don't even want to talk about. We'll worry about it as we go, continue doing what we're told, hopefully getting these damn shots and then get back to normal at some point soon. It's going to be a great week today, Reem. And by the way, folks, if you're not already following us on Instagram and Twitter at Sports Talk WPG, every night we've got some of the great highlights, clips from the show going out, and we appreciate you doing that and share those as well. What are you cracking up about there back at the command center?
I put out a tweet yesterday. Give us a follow on Instagram. We're at like 960 follows. We're trying to get to 1K. We're at 992 now. So Sports Talk WPG on Instagram. It's in the description. We're very close. I'm laughing because Gary Medeiros in chat says, if you're going to the zoo, look for Remo doing a walk of shame out with a screaming kid. So I was spotted on Saturday morning.
Oh, this is great. Jeff goes, I'm holding you to your mania odds, Huss. And then the Earl, Jack Campbell's young gun has gone from $4 to 100. That's what 10 wins in a row in Toronto will do for you.
Yeah, hashtag, like, caveat, in Toronto, any other city, you're not paying attention. He might go to like 50, but that's an incredible jump. I know I got an Andrew Kopp rookie at the start of the season. I'm pretty sure that price has doubled from like 3 to 6. And that's what happens when you're on the Jets.
Yeah. No doubt. Should be a lot more. Anyways,
imagine if he was in Toronto, Andrew Kopp, how much that rookie would be.
Oh, it'd be right there with Jack Campbell as the hottest sellers in the league. Anyways, thanks to everyone that's been in here. Hit that like for us and spread the word. We will be back on Monday. Tonight at 9:00 p.m., the new Lock Shop will drop. If you want to just get the podcast, search Lock Shop. Or just check my Twitter. Myself, Dustin Nielsen in Edmonton, will be popping that one out for you at 9:00 Winnipeg time tonight, going after everything coming up tomorrow in the NHL, some baseball, and I will fire up the wide world of wagering with some more from WrestleMania. And Reem, this is sort of wild. Coming up in like an hour, going to be making the debut on Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. I don't know how many hot Jets takes I'll be able to drop on the guys there, but should be fun. So, 4 to 7 in Winnipeg time for those of you that want to listen to some more sports talk. You just hit Fan 960 in Calgary, and looking forward to that. I'll be doing that a little bit, but again, the focus is always first and foremost here, 1 o'clock with you and the gang here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Yeah, you got a lot of hot Flames takes, Huss. Are you firing the coach? Who are you trading at the deadline?
I'm firing the GM. Yeah, firing GM and, thanking the Flames for, just speeding up the process of being eliminated from the playoffs, and then they can get on to trading some of the core pieces. So it should be some fun chats with the guys. Of course, we'll also be talking Masters and staying all over that right now.
WrestleMania odds discussion will probably come up, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely on the Lock Shop tonight. As I said, just follow on Twitter at Lock Shop Bets, and you'll be able to see that.
It's a busy day for
notifications. Yeah, crazy. I was saying to you off air before we went on, I'm not even I haven't had a day this busy in a very long time. But you know what? Honestly, I'm thankful for it. It's great to work with you and how well this is going. The support we're getting from people here in Winnipeg. Excited to do some stuff with the gang here in Winnipeg on CJOB. And really pumped to get on the airwaves on Sportsnet with Rogers coming up this afternoon for 3 hours. So I got to go get ready for that and do it. Remo, you got to get the pods up. But have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the Masters, WrestleMania, the Jet game tomorrow. And, wow, we're going to have a big show packed on Monday because, of course, we will be live on the air following all the actions around the NHL as we get right into the trade deadline at 2 p.m.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, we'll schedule it right now for 1, but depending on what the Jets do, things might change. So we'll have our phones on. Follow us on Twitter for all the up to the minute updates. I would say that. But right now we're scheduled for 1 on Monday, regular time.
You got it. Once again, thanks to Not Autocorp, Boston Pizza City Place, the Nick and Nikki DQ Group, and our friends at Royal Sports, Cool Bet Canada, Aikens Lake, and Breezy Bend Golf and Country Club. That is going to do it for another week here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll be back with a packed show on Monday, all things Jets and the NHL Trade Deadline. In the meantime, enjoy the Masters, enjoy WrestleMania if you're into that, and have yourself a great weekend. We appreciate you joining us and all the support you're giving us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.